9 cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Oh, man, we're having some crazy difficulties going on over here today. We are trying to figure it all out. Yeah.
5 challenges.
Yeah.
Jason's getting his makeup right. This is trying to get it all together.
I'm having an acid flashback.
What is happening? What are you doing? We have technical issues going on today, but we are live at Yokayo, sitting at the judges' table of World Famous Emerald Cup competition. And so
I'm having an acid flashback.
Yes. Everything. Gretchen.
Do you want to turn it down and see if anyone else works?
I can hear you.
No.
Hello. Gretchen.
I'm here.
All right. Go for it.
Well, turn off your junk because you're killing us. Can you go on mute, Jason? Just for kicks. Try it. Okay. Any better? No. It's garbage. All right. Do you want me to do a story or just fake this?
You can't do a question if you want.
We're all getting bad echo on whatever you guys are doing.
Is part of the issue, frankly, that you have two of you guys up? Or I see three of you. You can only have one person logged in your room at the same time. There you go. Let's try that. All right. Dale, can you hear me?
I hear you 5 by 5, Gretchen.
All right. The hell with them. All right.
Y'all are finally acknowledging me because I'm black. Y'all got me in the back room, me and Adellia, the two black people here.
We're taking over. Screw Jason Beck. All right, Rico Lamitte, you want to start this?
I can do the intro because Jason Beck is on his altar boy kick right now. Live reporting from the belly of the beast over on Mount Shasta. But welcome back, everybody. You're now tuned into High at 9 News, live and direct from Hall of Flowers up north. And thank you for joining not only to get High at 9 with us, but also High Noon on the East Coast. We're going to bypass the days of the week because Jason is, I don't know, even know, he's in the echo chamber. He's always in his echo chamber, but this morning it was a little different. He was in there with two other people. I have no idea who they are, but I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street, and it is Wednesday, May 3rd. Today is a very special day because why? Because we're humping into the new situation in cannabis. Jason Beck will be right back with us as soon as he and Manndie get their technical difficulties squared away. Are you guys with us? Can you guys hear? How's your audio? All right. I'm just going to... how about this? We're going to switch things up a little bit today. And we're just going to start off with Gretchen's story. How about that, Gretchen?
Ooh, I like it.
It's Women Wednesdays. Women Wednesdays, and it's all about the ladies. Ladies morning for us today. We're going to start off with Gretchen Gailey. And there's nothing little about this person. It's always big personality, big voice, and big deal all the time. She is the founder of Panoptic Strategies and our very own Washington Insider. Everybody give it up for Gretchen Gailey.
Good morning. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but things always work in Washington, D.C., as we know. My headline is
designed to work.
My headline comes from Marijuana Moment. Wisconsin GOP lawmakers strip marijuana legalization from governor's budget in joint hearing. Wisconsin Republican lawmakers have removed proposals to legalize marijuana for recreational and medical use from the governor's executive budget for the 2023 to 2025 biennial. At a hearing of its legislature's Joint Finance Committee on Tuesday, members voted 12-4 to eliminate numerous provisions of Governor Tony Evers' budget request, including measures on legalizing, taxing, and regulating cannabis in the state. The move was expected as the GOP-controlled legislature has previously stripped marijuana reform language from past executive budgets, and top Republican lawmakers warned that any adult use legalization proposal would not move through the process this year either. It is unfortunate that Republicans again chose to ignore the will of the majority and remove cannabis legalization from the state budget, according to Senate Minority Leader Melissa Agard. Beyond having an immense fiscal impact on our state, legalizing cannabis addresses Wisconsin's egregious racial disparities, bolsters our agriculture and farming heritage, safely regulates the existing illicit market, and supports entrepreneurships. It's high time we get this done for the betterment of our state and the people living here. While Republicans have asserted that removing policy matters from the budget is a matter of fiscal responsibility, Senator LaTanya Johnson said at Tuesday's meeting that eliminating marijuana legalization contradicts that objective, preventing the state from reaping the economic benefits of establishing a regulated cannabis market. The one thing that we know is that legalization will generate up to $44 million in tax revenue. Now my Republican colleagues are going to say they are all about fiscal responsibility, right? I don't understand how you can be fiscally responsible, but we're leaving $44 million in marijuana expansion on the table. Johnson proposed an amendment to GOP motion to reinstate the deleted provisions, including marijuana reform, but it was rejected in a 4-12 vote. Evers' plan would have allowed adults 21 and older to purchase and possess up to 2 ounces of marijuana for personal use and grow up to 6 plants. The Department of Revenue, which called for legalization in its budget request this year, would have been responsible for regulating the market and issuing cannabis business licenses. As part of the budget request, Evers' office estimated that the state would generate $44 million in segregated tax revenue from legal cannabis, as well as a $10.2 million increase in state general fund tax revenue in fiscal year 2025 if its reform was enacted. The governor also included adult use and medical legalization in his 2021 budget, as well as decriminalization and medical cannabis in his 2019 proposal. But the conservative legislature has consistently blocked the reform. While Republican leaders said earlier this year that negotiations over medical cannabis reform would be compromised if Evers moved forward with pushing for recreational legalization in his budget. The GOP caucus has privately met to discuss advancing medical marijuana legislation this session. Assembly Speaker Robin Vos didn't provide details about the in-the-works proposals when he disclosed the meetings last month, but he said that the goal is to draft something with bipartisan appeal that could be enacted later this year. Top Democrats, including Agard, the Senate Minority Leader, who's championed adult use legalization, are skeptical of the plan. We've seen this story before, but actions speak louder than words, she said last month. Session after session, the speaker has come forward with empty promises, but no tangible steps towards any form of legal cannabis in Wisconsin. Agard and Senator Mary Felskowski also spoke about the prospects of cannabis reform during a webinar hosted by the Wisconsin Policy Forum last month. Felskowski, who's previously sponsored medical cannabis legal legislation, said that she's personally very, very focused on getting medical marijuana across the finish line this session. But she told Marijuana Moment that there would be a need to compromise on the legislation, which would likely prohibit smoking cannabis and limit the conditions that would make people eligible for medical marijuana. I am not too thrilled by the Republican lawmakers' work here. However, it was not unforeseen. These folks have done it in the past, and frankly, when a state tries to throw adult use and medical together at the same time, we have seen it does not go down well and does not generally work. Let's get a viable medical program up and running, and then let's work on adult use. This is Gretchen for High 9 News. Anybody, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean,
Where'd we go?
Well, I'll jump in. You know, I think this move obviously denies Wisconsin the opportunity to generate revenue. You already stated that, and provides like the much needed regulatory oversight that it needs. I think obviously the biggest picture too is that it ignores the numerous economic, social, and racial benefits of moving forward with this. So I think they definitely are risking falling behind, you know, and it fails to enact a meaningful forum for them.
I mean, and the story goes on to say that Wisconsin residents purchased over $121 million in cannabis last year from Illinois. So they have no problem going to look for it. I don't know why the state is leaving all this money on the table as they said they are.
Well, I have something to add to that, Gretchen, because I've represented law enforcement officers in some of their organizations, and the default of all issues that the legislature can't fix falls to law enforcement, and it continues to give them ammunition to argue for more funding to keep fighting illegal drugs. And you don't see that as headlines. You don't get to look at these budgets. But I can tell you that the default position for policymakers and law enforcement is we want to continue to enforce against this because it keeps our budgets full. Now, that is a headwind that's really hard to fight against because it's not in the open. And whenever legislatures can't or won't fix a social problem, it falls on the cops to fix it. So it just continues to be a classic mess everywhere. Because law and order says, oh, we want to continue to fight illegal drugs. Well, this should never have been illegal. So you can't get beyond that argument with law enforcement because they continue to say, oh, people are committing crimes. They're hurting each other. The cartels are here, blah, 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 blah. This isn't fentanyl, for God's sakes. And the disparate treatment between the races over weed especially has just been unconscionable, and it needs to stop.
There's the lasting effect is Scott Walker residuals. You know, he stripped the non-GOP members and anybody who came after them of any like real power coming in into effect, and it's going to be years of this. So I feel for the Wisconsin people, and Wisconsin of all states is very, very, very cannabis friendly when it comes to the people, when it comes to the environment there, and I'm all with the medical, getting medical up and running and all that stuff, but like let these people live, man. Let them free.
I hear you. However, they are not putting into office lawmakers that will allow that. If they wanted to push forward with these initiatives that had passed before, you need to get cannabis-friendly lawmakers into those seats. And the Wisconsin people have not made that a priority just yet. And I know you talked about Scott Walker, but Wisconsin is still a very conservative, I think barely purple, more red, more magenta looking state. They might like their cannabis, but it is not the number one issue for them going to the ballot box.
I guess.
All right.
You got a Rico sigh coming.
Oh, yeah. You know what time it is? That's right. It's Tuesday over here at Green Street, and we got Smoky Vanilla with us in the building. So that's right. It is time to stretch and smoke. We just got done smoking. Now we're going to stretch it out, and then we're going to smoke again.
Let's go. I'm Smoky Vanilla with my background in kinesiology and bodywork massage and assisted stretching. You got to come check it out, baby. Check me out on IG. It's Smoky Vanilla 1, Stretch and Smoke. Twitter, Smoky Vanilla. Social Club, Stretch and Smoke. We're also on Sports Recovery by Dan and Jam.
If you want to feel as good as I look, then make sure that you get a stretch and smoke in with Smoky Vanilla.
Yeet!
Is Smoky Vanilla stretching his way up to Yokayo? Is he up there at the Emerald Cup with you guys, Jason?
I take that as a no. And we're gonna get
Jason and Manndie reporting live from the echo chamber. Let's keep it rocking. How about?
All right. I'm gonna I'll give you an intro, Rico Lamitte. I'm not gonna give you your 45-second intro that y'all normally get because I think they're way too dang long. But Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street. Tell us your news. That's how long these suckers should be.
There we go, Gretchen.
Let's keep this moving.
Go. All right. So, continuing this week's ongoing theme of governmental ethics, and we've actually got a positive story coming out of Maryland for today. When everything seems doom and gloom with the conflict of interest running amok between politicians and regulators, double dipping their power and actively participating in the cannabis industry, it's always good to see and hear of people doing the right thing. I'm looking at you, Shamia Fagan from Oregon. My story has absolutely nothing to do with race, but it's a black man doing good things. Governor Wes Moore out of Maryland and his administration are doing the unthinkable. The administration announced Monday he has formally created a blind trust for his assets, which included nearly 1.2 million in shares of stock in a cannabis company, or about 46% of his assets outlined. Moore is a Democrat and worked through an investment banker and declared before he was elected that he would be creating a blind trust swiftly and transparently to avoid any potential conflicts of interest while he was in office holding power. This removed him from controlling assets while his governor. It's a complete about face from Larry Hogan's predecessor. Am I echoing?
Jason, hit the road.
Oh, so we just started to work?
You're echoing.
No, you're killing us.
We over here doing the women and minorities dance, man. You killing us. All right. So State Ethics Commission approved the transfer of Moore's list of holdings into a blind trust approved by Brown Investment Advisory and Trust Company last week. And mute. What's up? Motherfuckers.
Go mute.
The governor's 1.1.
You guys aren't helping.
Rico. You know what it is? Sometimes shit just goes.
$7 million worth of stock in GTI. There we go. Yeah. does not have business, which does have business in Maryland, is by far the most eye-catching portion of his portfolio. He served on the company's board of directors from 2018 until this March, when he resigned from the board. So the money was there, and it'll probably be redistributed for other companies, but he wants to keep the majority in cannabis, showing his love for the industry. I'm interested in hearing what everybody else has to think about this one. Big love to Maryland and Westmore. He continues to do great things. And you know what, Gretchen, I'm all about flowers, and not just because, I'm a male chauvinist and I want to give women flowers, but you're the one who actually put me on to Westmore and asked me my thoughts about him, and he's continuing to do great things. And I'd like to say big ups to Westmore. I'm a big fan, and love to hear everybody else's thoughts on this one. Rico Lamitte, Dope's Dad on the Street, out here in Santa Rosa, California, for High at 9 News.
I'll say
yes,
Are
but
you working
I'm
now?
not hearing it. It's not working.
Okay,
This
well,
mic
stop
is not
talking out
working.
loud
This
so we
mic
can
is
keep
working.
going. Stop. Anyway, Westmore, I like him. I like what he is doing for the state of Maryland.
Clubhouse on.
And frankly, I like the example that he is setting for other
Clubhouse.
lawmakers. I know Jason's favorite godfather, the Trumpster, loved to make money off of every opportunity he possibly could and pretended that he was putting things aside and did this or whatever. And we all know he really didn't. Trying to hold events at his golf courses and all sorts of bullshit like that. But Westmore is actually trying to show that he is putting the people's efforts first. He's not, putting his... He's keeping his money in cannabis, which I like, but it's still, he's not touching it. I like the blind trust. I like that he is. I hate Jason.
What? How can you hate
Killing me.
Can you hear me?
I think y'all should maybe just sit this show out. You're killing us. Dale, what do you think of blind trust?
Can you hear me?
Well, I feel like I'm back at an acid trip doing a concert in the 60s right now. I'm having a flashback. Oh, there we go. Okay. Well, I think it's about time that they looked at conflicts of interest in politicians. Attorneys have to abide by conflict of interest laws, and we can qualify by the bar if we have conflicts of interest. And I routinely disqualify myself when I'm on a board of directors and something comes up where I have a conflict. So I like to see this. I wish it applied more, and that we had these ethics laws that would sanction people. And it's going to have to, go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's got some conflicts of interest right now. If you haven't heard about it, this is, asshole deep to a tall giraffe. This is bad. Okay. And when you've got people accepting what would otherwise get you kicked off the bench in gratuities and not reporting it, it just creates an atmosphere you can't trust. And that's at the heart of all this. If you think that cannabis people can't be trusted, put it into blind trust as I'm a lawmaker. And if a conflict comes up, declare it and go forward as a legitimate member of society, earning money and trying to do your best to move this forward with all your cards on the table. I just wish we had a lot more of that, because it's disgusting to see what happens.
Does it say how much his investment is in this company?
1.2 million. It was his... I don't know if it was his payout or his just like pay, but kickbacks from GTI or whatever. He was on the board of GTI from 2018 to 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was both disclosed before he got into office, and he went through like all of the rigmarole when it came to disclosures and it came to just being transparent with it. And he wanted to make sure it was announced before he came out there, so nobody came up there and said that it would be an issue. But yeah, he's going to be in the blind trust. I mean, like, how much of a blind trust is it if you know what's in that investment? But we'll just wait and see with it. I'm just like happy to see some kind of transparency going on, especially with what we're hearing coming out of Oregon, and like Dale said with the whole Supreme Court.
Dude, give up. Stop with the echo. Part of me is wondering, and Rico, did he say that he just did this, or they're just announcing it now? Because I'm wondering if any of this had to do with Clarence Thomas and his current issues of alleged improprieties. If they're like, all right, let's get in front of this. Let's make sure there's no conflicts.
And it just ain't old Clay either.
Well, I think it's advisable, Gretchen. I mean, if I was advising the candidate, I'd say just be transparent. Put it out there. Don't be afraid to declare a conflict of interest and put this behind you, because otherwise it's going to be made an issue is going to be hung around your neck. Why do that? I mean, you can be a smart person on a board of directors of a cannabis company and put that out into the people and say, hey, elect me because I'm a smart business person. I run a company. I'll put it in a bind trust. I can represent business interests, not just people who smoke weed, but business interests, including weed businesses. I think it's an advisable thing to do. I just wish this plague would catch all over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, when
it comes to politics, you don't get in trouble for the bad thing. You get in trouble for the cover up. So if you, like you're saying, Dale, if you come out and disclose and let people know what's going on, then you're going to look on the up and up. And that's what we want our representatives to be, and especially the ones who are pro cannabis. We need them to be on the up and up.
And Dale, can we get a redo of that analogy that you use, the giraffe's ass?
Asshole deep to a tall giraffe. That's pretty deep.
It sounds like the exact place that Jason is broadcasting from right now.
Yeah. He's up that giraffe's ass right now.
Let's keep it moving. I don't know if Smoky Vanilla is out there at the ranch with them stretching things out. But are we going to go to the halftime show? Or we're just going to keep it going to the next story?
Keep it rolling.
Just keep it going to the next.
We're in charge.
Yes, we are. Taking charge.
I would love to hear from Adellia, Rico.
The black brown minority section, and Dale is the ultimate ally. This is the woke. This is the woke section of High at 9 News, devoid of Jason Beck. So coming up next, y'all know who it is. Everybody's favorite foul mouth uncle, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Dale Schafer.
Good morning, everybody. If I start echoing, you two are having a flashback. My story comes out of Law 360 this morning, and it's a troubled tale of a litigation that went horribly bad when attorneys sue each other. But the bigger message is out of a business directive that came out of this case. And I represent cannabis businesses, and we have HR departments, and this is one that rang a bell for me. So anybody who's involved in HR should pay attention to this case, because it can cause you some serious problems. It seems that 3 people were co-owners of a cannabis manufacturing and distribution business here in California. It was called Canico Research Group. And the plaintiff in this case, a woman by the name of Militello, is an attorney. She was on the board of directors. She was one of the co-owners, and she was also an executive at this business. Her co-partner was a woman by the name of Ann Lawrence. Her husband is an attorney. The other co-defendant was a guy named Rajesh Manik. And if I torture these words, I'm sorry. But he was a co-owner. And it seemed that these Lawrence and Manik got together and threw her ass out. Okay. She got a little miffed about that. So she sued. But before she left, she had changed the company's email to a G platform, whatever they call it, G Suite. Okay. I'm IT illiterate, so, excuse me. They changed to G Suite. And so one of the co-defendants, Miss Lawrence, was sending emails to her husband, who's an attorney. And it seems that Miss Militello grabbed those emails and took them. Okay. Either as she was leaving or somewhere in there. Okay. And so everybody sued everybody, cross complaints everywhere. And what it ended up being that Militello was the primary plaintiff. And it seems that they let the other side know they had these emails, but they were protected by the spousal privilege. If you don't know what that is, you can talk to your spouse about anything, and they can't be forced to divulge that. Okay. There's a privilege around that. So it seems that the plaintiff here had grabbed these emails as she was leaving. She gave them to her attorney, and her attorney used them against Miss Lawrence and her husband, who's an attorney, Mr. Athay. Okay. And they got a little pissed about that. So what it turned out that the court did is they wouldn't allow them to use these emails. Okay. They disqualified the law firm for having these privileged documents and for using them in litigation. And then they issued a sort of a warning to everybody out there that has emails in a company. Okay. And if you don't have them, you're lying, because every company has an email account. Okay. And this is the problem that they pointed out. If you have an email account for a business and you don't, I'm hearing it.
Oh man, are we back? Can you hear
No,
us?
you're not.
No. Turn that shit off. There you go.
Yeah, get him, Dale.
Turn that shit off. Okay. Anyway, where was I? And they said if you have an email suite that's a company suite, that you better go to your bylaws of your corporation or your operating agreement if you're an LLC, and to your employee handbooks, and spell out plainly, this is a company-only account. It is not private. Okay. We review it regularly, and basically anything you say in there can and will be used against you. Okay. And you put that in writing, and you have every employee sign that they understand that. Okay. So they can't come back later and say, oh, I had an expectation of privacy in my company emails. Okay. So there's the big warning for all HR departments and every company that's in the cannabis space, but basically everybody now. Okay. Because if you grab these emails and you don't have a right to them, it can come back and blow up in your face. Okay. But if you have these policies in place and you take a look at these emails and everybody knows you're reviewing them, and whatever you say can be used against you, then in fact, you can use them against these people. Okay. That's the big message here. And as cannabis goes more into the mainstream of business, these decisions will blow up in people's faces if you don't have a realistic HR department, HR policies, which includes everything from the ADA to workers' compensation. All these things need to be in place, and everybody needs to be on board if they're in a managerial or executive position and understand what they are and stick to them. Okay, that's my advice for the day. Let's throw it out to everybody. What do you think?
So, so just one question. In this, it resulted in the disqualification of the plaintiff's counsel, right? Is that what happened too with this because of the outcome?
Yeah, they got thrown off the case.
Wow.
And I don't know if you remember what happened in the Alex Jones case, okay, where his attorneys did a document dump and sent confidential attorney-client communications to the plaintiff's attorney, okay? And what the plaintiff's attorney did is said, hey, I got these, okay? I think I got them by mistake. And these people sat around and whacked their pee-pee for a week and a half and didn't say anything. And they introduced them in trial. And they torpedoed Jones, okay? So what the court also said is, hey, if you're an attorney and you got these kind of documents, you're obligated ethically to let the other side know. Okay, they have an opportunity to say, no, you can't use them. And then there's steps you can take to bring them back. You can't copy, blah, blah, blah. These idiots put them into pleadings. Hey, look what this husband and wife were saying. It's like, dude, did you pass the bar or what? This is not ethical to be doing. And they should have got spanked. But it's a warning primarily for companies. Okay, get a hold of your email policies and wrap your hands around and put them in HR documents. Have everybody sign them. And if you ever make changes, have them go back and sign again.
Should it also increase monitoring as a whole beforehand? So before it gets to something like this, is that something like as a company that they should do?
You have to have a policy in place to regularly monitor. Okay. Because if you find something, you have to take active steps, and that's got to be part of your HR policy. If you catch somebody, downloading, child porn on your email, it's like, man, they need to go flying out a window. Like, you're done right now. And then you take steps against them to, advise law enforcement, whatever you're going to do. Those policies have to be in place, and they have to be monitored and followed. And
Dale,
I'm sorry.
do you think other businesses do this better? than cannabis?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sure.
Now, cannabis businesses are now being held to all the standards of every other business. And too many of these people were wink, wink, nod, nod, throw 50 pounds in a trunk and drive off and sell it kind of people. Okay. You can't run a business like that anymore. I do cannabis business law a lot, and I spend a lot of time undoing what I call shit sandwiches that my clients create because they have no idea what this stuff is, or they don't pay attention to it. It's not their issue. Let somebody else deal with it until you get sued.
Can you hear me?
We got you.
You guys hear me now? Oh yeah, we're back.
Adam, put him back on mute. Put him back on mute, Adam.
Send him back into the giraffe's asshole.
Yeah, we're back.
Now we just need to work on that lighting.
Let's look him up and put him in there, Rico, in the giraffe's asshole. There we go.
Broadcasting live from the asshole of a giraffe up north in California. All right, so this is perfect with timing on there because I have flooding room next to me, and maintenance has been trying to actively push me the fuck out of my room right now. So Jason, it's perfect timing. I love you guys all. If you guys are out in Hall of Flowers, I'm gonna be connecting with the rest of the team momentarily. Come on out and see us, get some interviews out with us, and just remember, man, Jason Beck ain't shit.
Gretchen, you muted him.
I didn't mute Jack. Are you guys there, or are we just gonna fake this again? Jason, we got nothing. All right, moving along from our train wreck in Yokayo. We got Miss Adellia Carrillo, one of the finest ladies that I know in cannabis. She is the founder of Blunt Brunch, a number of other amazing things like Event High. She always knows what's going on in the world. So let's hear what you got for us today, Adellia.
Thank you, Gretchen. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So today's article is New Mexico's adult use marijuana sales bolstered by tourism, Texas residents. So New Mexico's adult use cannabis market has been thriving with sales topping 300 million in the first year alone. Now, in March of 2023, the state brought in a record of 32 million in recreational sales, driven primarily by large population centers such as Albuquerque, Las Cruces, and Santa Fe. Now, stores located in Albuquerque accounted for nearly 31% of total adult use sales between August 2022 to February 2023. And this percentage increased to more than 36% when sales from nearby metro communities such as Bernalillo and Rio Rancho were included. Now, despite lower total sales in smaller municipalities, retailers in border and tourist areas are bolstering in the emerging market, with some stores performing better when taking population into account. So the launch of and growth of New Mexico's recreational market has resulted in a decline in medical marijuana sales, which is a typical pattern after the launch of adult use. Medical marijuana sales declined 25% from April 2022 to January 2023, with dispensaries recording 13.8 million in January. Now, although sales recovered back in March to 15.4 million, they actually are still down 2 million from the previous April. However, the average sales per transactions from medical marijuana patients outpaced the average for recreational shoppers. The per transaction gap has stabilized since the launch of recreational sales, but it'll be an interesting statistic to follow as the adult use market expands in the coming years. So if you remove Albuquerque and other population centers from the equation, the story of recreational sales in New Mexico has been tourism in Texas. Sales in border communities such as Clovis, Hobbs, and Sunland Park are outpacing what would be expected given their smaller populations, indicating that Texans are crossing the border to purchase cannabis from Mexico. Now, tourism also buoyed per capita per spending in less densely populated areas in the state, with Redusto at 546 and Taos at 598, outperforming for the number of people living in these respective zip codes. So this is Adellia reporting for High at 9 News Hour. I'd love to hear from everyone on what do you think are the implications? What do you think the implications are for New Mexico's cannabis industry, especially with regards to the dominance of sales in Albuquerque and the impact of tourism and border towns?
I mean, let's be honest. I love New Mexico. Sure. Never been there. I'm sure it'll be lovely to go to someday. But it only has a population of 2 million. And so if you're cutting out Albuquerque, I mean, that's a huge base that could be getting cannabis. I think this should say something to the folks over the border in Texas of maybe that people are interested in cannabis in their state and that they should have it as well. It sounds as if from your numbers, Adellia, that New Mexico wouldn't have, frankly, a very good cannabis market at all if it weren't for all these Texas tourists.
Yeah, I agree with that, Gretchen. If you are not, it is all about Texas. If you're close to the border in Texas, you're going to crush out there in New Mexico. But other than that, there's not enough people out there to survive in business.
Well, it's circumstantial evidence that a lot of people in Texas want to go buy weed, but we don't have this kinds of indicators of what the unregulated market, I don't want to use the wrong term here, what that's doing in Texas, because that's going crazy. These are only indications of how robust the market for cannabis is all across the country. And we had these kind of pissing matches when Colorado went legal and all the border states tried to sue them to stop people crossing the border. It's like, nah, stop it. People want weed. If they'll drive there because they want to look respectable, it's great. But they're buying weed right around the corner in your neighborhood right now. So let's wake up and smell the coffee here and stop this nonsense and spending enforcement dollars and actually bring the tax revenues in and get jobs.
Very true. Very true. We need taxes. We need jobs. That's right. But there's not going to be lots of jobs because there's only 2 million people there to service.
Now, I have some interesting comments coming in from our comments section. Jax Barboa, part of House of Fuego, one of our favorites, is saying that her family lives in Cuba, New Mexico, a tiny town, and their dispensary is flourishing because they finally have a legal storefront to supply the town with meds. And they celebrate the income of businesses from neighboring towns that don't have dispensaries. Thank you, Jax, for your input. And I'm not saying that absolutely nothing, this doesn't matter to New Mexico at all. I'm simply saying that if you were expecting New Mexico to be a huge market based on just who's in New Mexico, that's a little silly. I mean, clearly they're going to get business from elsewhere. That's all I'm saying. But please, and thank you for your support.
Yep. That should have been a super chat.
Okay, whatever. I'm taking it here, Jason. Are you ready to do this now?
Great, Gretchen. Yes, you're doing fantastic. We're going to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
Keeping up to date on the evolving policies of relevant state, local, and federal governments is key to success. When the future of your business is at stake, you need representation as dedicated as you are. With a maze of laws and regulations surrounding cannabis, hemp, and psychedelics, knowing where to begin can be a challenge. Good Thing the Law Offices of Omar Figueroa features a skilled, highly focused team ready to guide you through it all. They're accepting new clients in California and New York. So make sure you check them out at info@omarfigueroa.com.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you pound that like button, and make sure you head over to our website, www.highat9.com, where you can find amazing High at 9 merchandise on top of sign up for our newsletter. That's right. It goes out every weekend. And just make sure that you hit subscribe at www.highat9news.com, and you will get a confirmation email, and it may just go in your junk or trash, and it must be hit in order to receive and actually subscribe. Run this next ad, Adam.
Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
I just want to say good morning because I've been waiting for so long. So
morning, Manndie. It's lovely to hear you without an echo.
It is lovely to be heard. Good morning. Thank you.
Sorry, there's so many hills up here, so this often gives an echoing effect when you have this amazing type of backdrop.
Oh, or some genius up a giraffe's ass trying to figure
Yeah.
out the audio could also be the issue.
There you go, Gretchen.
I don't know. I mean, they figured it out. And we are very thankful for them. Oh yeah, shout out to the super chats out
the
there.
tech team.
Gretchen should be the boss.
Woo,
It's
woo.
high at 9.
I
How's
concur,
that for a
Anna.
super chat. That is the funniest chat I've read all day today. Nick, you better step your game up. But yes, I mean, where are we going with this, Gretchen? I have a story. Do I get to do my
You
story
do
today?
have a story. All right. Now, I have semi-skimmed your story, and it is horrifically long. So, if you're going to summarize it.
Manndie's story. That's Manndie's story.
Yeah, that was mine. Sorry.
Yep.
All right.
I'm going to
we
pause.
switched
I'm
it
going to
up.
wait on my story.
It's
All
a
right.
long story.
Fine. Then I will intro you, Jason Beck, to
Oh,
the man with the
man.
smallest hands and our favorite highest
yeah,
Republican.
right.
Those tiny little hands trying to fix that echo, having trouble there with those little fingers.
Yeah, I bet.
Jason Beck. Tell us your story.
Oh, yeah. Again, thank you again, Anna, for that super chat. We really appreciate that. Today, my story comes out of Detroit. That's right. It's White Gucci in the building, where law enforcement has found 3,175 pounds of marijuana stuffed into lining of tires inside a semi-truck entering the Detroit area.
The value.
Officials intercepted more than 3,000 pounds of marijuana that had been stuffed into the lining of tires on a semi-truck entering Detroit. Officers with the United States Customs and Border Protection made the discovery on, guess what day, you guys? That's right, on 4/20 at the Fort Street Cargo Facility. Of course, it was on 4/20. The marijuana was found after a semi-truck hauling tires was sent in for additional screening at the border. When officers inspected the tires at the cargo facility, they found hidden packages of marijuana, brown packaging paper, and of course, that's right, because you can't have pounds of weed without some good old-fashioned trash bags. And the CBP officers in Detroit continue to work diligently day and night to accommodate and accomplish our border security mission in order to protect our nation and the communities we serve. Port Director Devin Chamberlain said, a total of 3,175 pounds of illegal marijuana found in the tires and the semi-truck were seized by authorities, and CBP officials said it's still illegal to import marijuana into the country because it's a Schedule I drug controlled substance. And man, you should have seen all the rubbers that they used in this story.
Of course.
This is Jason Beck reporting from High at 9 News, right from the judges' table of the most prestigious cannabis competition on the planet, the Emerald Cup competition. What do you have to say about
I'm
this?
disappointed with this article because I always look forward to the estimated cash value that the cops like to assign to these sorts of stories. I didn't get that part.
They did not do that. But,
Why not?
I'm wondering it's because it was all Bammer weed and it had
mean-
no value. Or actually, it was actually
sorry,
Canadian
Jason.
weed.
Where did they say it was coming from? Did they say where the truck came from?
They didn't say where it's coming from, but it was caught at the border, and so I'm assuming that it was Canadian weed being imported into the U.S. That would be my guess.
Doesn't have a
at the
value.
same, it has no value because it's Canadian weed. Yeah.
Whoops.
Yep. What you got to say about that, Gretchen?
I got nothing there. I mean, I don't try any of that Bammer weed, especially your Bammer weed.
That's not what I be hearing. Not what I be hearing. I be hearing you be smoking that finest.
Mhm.
Yep. Big time.
Oh yeah.
I find it interesting. I mean, I guess maybe they're getting a better rate on it that they would have to do this because don't they have a ton of weed in Michigan?
They got.
I mean,
yes.
but yes, and Michigan's biggest problem right now, in my opinion anyway, is that there is a massive influx of importing from all over, from California,
Gretchen,
from literally everywhere into Michigan. They
Gretchen,
can't
you
sell
are
their weed.
assuming right now that this load was going to end up in the streets of Detroit. This load was probably going to end up in the streets of a whole nother state, maybe probably like Georgia, because they have very, very low THC, and that was this final destination.
Yep.
Okay, well, I know you love, assuming stuff, Jason. I don't.
You were the one
so-
who was assuming that it was that the final stop.
I didn't
was
assume.
Detroit. Did you speak to the driver of this vehicle? Did you interrogate them for hours on end?
Is he an employee of Green Street that took a northern route to try and get through the post office?
There are no employees at Green Street.
Side door transportation.
Green Street.
Yep, there's no more employees at Green Street.
Oh, well.
This is again circumstantial evidence that the unregulated market's going fairly strong. Although they have trained dogs not to sniff out crappy weed and just let it go. Let the bammers keep moving.
Dale, did you? So all they did though to pack this up is they put it in a brown paper bag and garbage bags in tires. Like really? Like that's
Hey,
this is ridiculous.
People who do this aren't the brightest, stars in the firmament. I got pinched because a guy that was working with me decided to send weed through UPS, and he poured coffee grounds in it because Wavy Gravy told him that was a good way to do it at some fucking concert we went to back in the day. And it's like, dude, did any of your mom's children live? What the hell's wrong with you?
Dale.
And we do want to thank OCB for all of the work that they've done with all of this. Thank you, OCB. And with that, we're going to go to a quick commercial. We're going to be right back.
How's it going, guys? Saman Razani coming to you from Green Street here with Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast available on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify? Tune in now and check it out.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Coming up next, that's right. It's the feisty redhead conservative that loves to think that she's steering the ship. That's right. But she did grab a hold of the reins at the chokehold and wrangled in the crazy issues that we were having this morning. Thank you so much, Gretchen. We appreciate you. We appreciate your leadership and your thought-provoking insight, and we want to hear what you have to say next. She's the founder of Panoptic Strategies and our very own little Washington insider. It's Gretchen Gailey.
Thank you, Jason Beck. Well, my favorite saying is, behind every good man is a stronger woman. My headline is coming from the great state of Maine. WMTW. The headline is Report Links Exodus of Medical Marijuana Caregivers to Market Oversupply. According to a new report from Maine's Office of Cannabis Policy, 1,350 licensed medical marijuana growers have left the program since 2021, accounting for a 27.5% decline. The office surveyed former caregivers to gain a better understanding of why they did not renew their registrations for the program in 2022. Only 117 former caregivers responded, which is a response rate of 8.7%. The 5 most common reasons for exiting were oversupply and lower proxies, utility costs, business costs, banking regulations and fees, and competition from the adult use market. The office claims these findings deviate from what they call rumors and speculation on unhappiness with the office and its regulation of the program. The report included a quote from an unnamed caregiver who listed no wholesale relationships as one of their primary reasons for exiting. We have allowed big businesses to come in and open recreational cannabis grows and stores. Nobody in the public domain wants to pay $50 for a medical card. Nobody with a small business can afford to compete with the oversaturated market at a time when prices are going up on electricity and rent, according to the former grower. The report also puts blame on the state legislature, claiming they have refused to update rules, pointing to the lack of an inventory tracking system to make sure program participants are buying from the regulated market. I think this is a very sad thing to hear about the state of Maine. I know that they had a wonderful medical caregiver program, frankly, before the politicians got involved and ruined all of this. I would love to hear what others have to say, or if we have any folks in our chat from Maine, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. This is Gretchen once again from High at 9, saving the day.
Oh, yeah, Gretchen, that little superhero with a red cape and red hair. Oh, yeah. Do your dogs have a red cape?
No, but we'll work on that.
We'll work on that. All right. Mm-hmm. Be a High at 9 news cape.
Yeah. I mean, the whole Maine program has just been a complete shit show since day one.
But they have fire weed up there in Maine.
They do.
They do.
I mean,
but every place begins to tax and regulate, and these politicians just lose their minds taxing and regulating. And it right now in California, the average cost to get in the market's in the 7 figures, and then you've got to be backed up with money, and people know what they're doing. And if you're trying to do this as a small operator, like these caregivers, you just end up in a place where you can't connect the dots and make this work. And so people will go to the unregulated market, and it's an easier place. And the medical market suffers every place they do recreational, because this although it is a medical product, there isn't an advantage to having these medical cards or going medical that people can really see. It's not cheaper. You don't get better products or different products in most cases. So why would you have these separations? It's just a nonsensical situation. But that's how we're rolling out legalization across the country. It's the camel's nose under the tent. You continue to go forward, and no one wants to actually make everything legal and make it like a real business, because it's just all jumbled up.
Yeah, anytime they overregulate on this stuff, they definitely just ruin the whole market. I mean, look at what happened in California. Do we know if this was put in place by Democrats or Republicans, this growth over taxation?
It was put in place by inexperienced people who didn't know how to do anything with regards to this plant and run a business simultaneously. That
sounds like elected officials, and so I'm just wondering if they had R's or D's in front of their names.
All of them.
It's hard to say if it were R's or D's, because when you go to the state of Maine, there is two very different groups there.
Yes.
The bottom half, I want to say, are the Dems. The top half are the Republicans. They don't get along. Right. None of them get along. Anyway. But when Maine started their caregiver program, I mean, these caregivers were providing cannabis for patients, I want to say up to 100. It's been a while since I've looked at the rules in Maine. But years ago, caregivers provided quite a good amount of cannabis to their patients. And then when the state got involved, they lowered it down to like 2 or 5, like something ridiculous from what this market was already used to. And then they had the troubles when they tried to go to adult use, and that law got repealed. And when they did pass it, it was extremely close, like right around barely passing it, like 50.2% or something. Maine has always been right on the verge, and they have never had great leadership up there to really get them what they need. And frankly, the people said, we want to keep our caregiver model, and nobody listened.
We don't have political clout. That's the problem. We're still on the outside looking in. And until we get actually inside and can be in positions like this politician who put all this stuff into trust, I want to be here, I'm open, notorious. I mean, if you're gay and you're in politics, you're celebrated. If you're in the weed business and you're in politics, you're coming in the back door. We need to have a full seat at the table. And let me just clarify some things. If you don't know who Wavy Gravy is, go watch Woodstock, okay? Follow the Grateful Dead. And I was at a concert of the Remainders of the Dead, and Gravy's there telling us about shipping weed. And there was other things besides coffee grounds, but this brain dead guy I was working with, all he was coffee grounds, and I ended up in federal prison. Thank you very much.
Well, and I think another thing that states really should be looking at when they legalize truly are the needs of their citizens and what their state can actually pull off, what they want to do. Everyone thinks they're going to be the next California, the next New York, like some huge market, and they're just going to crush it and bring in tons of revenue. That's not, no offense to New Mexico, go New Mexico with your tourism dollars that's coming from Texas. But I'm saying smaller states should lean into what they do well. And one thing that Maine did very well was medical. And they should have leaned into it, and they produce great cannabis up there. And that's what they should work on, really making, if they want to take on the adult use side, making it a boutique, almost destination for tourists to know that this is where they can get great cannabis in the Northeast. And not try and be everything to everyone and have these MSOs come in and try and produce cannabis for a population that just isn't there.
Well, but that's going to require the feds allowing interstate commerce permits. And we've got some of these local, these regional governors trying to put compacts together. And we'll see how that works out. But with alcohol, they repealed the alcohol prohibition, and then it got thrown out there very quickly. We've been doing this now for 25 years. God, it's incredible how long it's been. And it seems like we take one step forward and 2 steps back. So politicians use this against everybody. Nobody in politics can agree on shit today. So, the black market, the unregulated market is just going to continue to flourish. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. And I want to introduce Mr. Swami Select, fellow Emerald Cup flower judge. Swami Select has judged 19 Emerald Cup competitions now. Is that correct, Swami?
That's correct. Yes.
Yes. And Swami, can you please tell me about this Emerald Cup bell and the origins of the bell? Because this is a fantastic bell, and Swami rings it whenever all the judges are getting rowdy and we have to get called to order.
And it gets rowdy.
Yes, it gets very rowdy. Oh yeah. Yes.
Well, you kind of put me on the spot here, Jason, because in fact, I don't know the origin.
You don't know the origin. All right.
It showed up at the table, and I needed to calm the entire crew of 17 judges who were all screaming at the top of their lungs.
Yeah.
Well, actually, only about 16 of them were screaming at the top of their lungs.
Well, because we were all right.
And there was sort of a cacophony here. And in order to because we have to make decisions in the cup
split
judging.
instant.
Well, not exactly instant, but we have to vote, and to get some, some people are still smoking that thing, trying to figure out what they, how they value it. Other people turned in their numbers already the day before.
Yep, that was me. I turned my numbers in before we even got up on the hill.
You guys should see Jason's notes.
Right? So anyway, it's like when you get a bunch of extra, what do they call it? Extraporous growers and judges and buyers and all that together. Everyone thinks that they're the world's best authority on cannabis,
yes,
right?
That's true.
And when we're all here together, someone's going to challenge you for that,
yes.
whatever you say about something or other. So it's actually this playful, exciting, really intense, because everyone on the judges panel is so passionate about it.
Very true.
And so committed to doing it and been doing it for so many years. And the other thing, after a little bit of time together, we respect each one's other opinions so thoroughly that now, sitting here to my right, Jason is a committed indoor smoker.
That's right.
And now in Indoor 2 Emerald Cups, we've got him to actually like sun-grown.
Yes. Yes, he's hiding it, Swami. He's not telling us that. He says that outdoor is terrible.
I tease him also because he told me he actually came from up Northern California originally. And when he moved to the South, he sort of assumed Southern characteristics in a sense.
Oh, stop it. I smoked only indoor weed even when I was up north.
Right.
Yeah, well, I just sold outdoor weed.
All right. I'm on the totally opposite track because I never smoked any indoor until we started judging.
I think it was just the last Emerald Cup was the first time that you really consumed really good indoor weed because you wanted to smoke it actually off of the vine so that you could get the actual true essence of the plant. And I remember in our ride up last year, we brought you sticks of weed up to try of indoor flower, Swami. I remember this. And what did you think?
I can't remember that part. I was
that's how you know how good it was right there. Is he can't remember?
Swami.
Right. Well, no, I mean, actually, this year and last year there were some good indoor. But for me, it's also because I teach in the Ganjier course, right? And we're teaching students from all over. Many people have only smoked indoor, so I have to acquaint myself with indoor and a little bit know about it. So now when I take out my little scope and I look at the indoor bud and I look at the size of the little twigs and so on and how it's shaped and what the trichomes look like, I'm pretty confident. You could put a bud in front of me, I could tell that it's indoor by looking at it and so on. Now, in a blind smoke taste, I'm not sure anyone can really tell between.
Yeah, I don't know about these blind smoke tastes. That's all a bunch of malarkey. It's how they've run some of these elections. You know what I'm saying?
Close your eyes and vote, right?
Yeah.
So. But see, the thing is, we have to expand knowledge. That's what we're all about.
That's right.
As connoisseurs and people who've been in this movement
Expanding
for so long,
tech.
we have to share what we've learned with people and gently bring them forward to realize. And so, one of the things that we've realized over the years that it's not about indica sativa, it's not about the highest THC, it's not about this, that, and the other. It's about the totality of the entire thing that you're smoking. Everything in there has an importance to it. All right, and also now we focus on smell and so on. But we're also learning it's not just terpenes.
It's not.
Because there's many other things that create smells in cannabis. And I could bore you with a list of them, right? But there's all sorts of things which add to the flavor. Like, for example, out there, any of you know, did you ever smoke a cultivar that tasted like garlic or onion? Well, yeah, you sure did. But it wasn't a terpene that caused that. It was a volatile sulfur compound that caused the onion or garlic smell. So we have to expand our consciousness about what the smells and aromas from cannabis are coming from. And for example, an awful lot of them are esters.
Yeah.
And they are things like banana and pineapple and strawberry. And these flavors are actually coming from esters, which are a combination of alcohol and acid, right? And they're not terpenes, right? So we can't focus so much attention on terpenes either. And once again, it just tells us it's the whole plant, the whole banana, so to speak, or the whole enchilada that actually is giving you the effects that you like. So anyway, about the bell.
Yeah, we got to wrap it up. We got to wrap it up, Swami. It's already past 10 o'clock. Ring the bell. We're gonna wrap it up. Yes, we are closing down the Emerald Cup competition with the bell. We are closing down today's show. Thank you, Yokayo Ranch. Thank you, OCB. Thank you, all of us, for tuning in and joining us every Monday through Friday at High at 9 News here live and direct, because it's America's #1 daily cannabis news show. And Gretchen, thank you for holding it down in the beginning. We definitely appreciate your leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah. Run that, Adam. Let's roll. We got to get to Hall of Flowers.
Make it a great one, everybody.